today's topic is time-saving doc review tips. So it's all about the review today. So we'll cover things that will help you be more efficient with your review process. Probably like most of our webinars, what you see in Pipeline is pretty straightforward. You can dive in, you can get started and be able to do what you need to do really intuitively. So you can look at the different pages and figure out what you need to do. What we go through a lot of times in these webinars is the tips that you might not recognize. So those little special power user features that won't necessarily be super evident on your screen, but you're still able to get your basic stuff done. So we'll cover those sort of power user tips just like we normally do today for the review process. So that's much of what you'll see. I'll start by going over the review process and I'll just highlight those as we go through and then highlight some more at the end. Okay, so let's hop over to Pipeline. Okay, and we'll start here. And since we are managing or going over the review process, we're going to go to our Unreviewed page. And before I dive into just the overview, the quick overview of how the review process works, I wanted to mention here, notice that I can see my unreviewed docs and my unentered docs. And the unentered feature allows you to identify or check off docs that you have entered or need to enter into an external system, say an accounting system like Lone Wolf or something like that. So that's, excuse me, that's what that entered feature is for. If you don't need it, you can turn that off. So under admin, which I'll open in a separate window here, if you uncheck that enable entered docs feature, that will turn it off and just clear up some space on your unentered, excuse me, on your unreviewed page so that you don't have to see that. And so if I go ahead and refresh this page here, you'll see that that no longer exists. I've only got my unreviewed now. Okay, so it just makes it a little bit cleaner for you. Okay, so the unreviewed process. Everything stems from this page, the unreviewed docs page. This is where your managing broker or your principal broker, or in some cases your a particular designated admin, will come to review docs. And the way that it works is similar to the transactions page. When you click on a doc name, you can preview it. I've got it kind of small here just for this demo. You can make it bigger if you need to, or have it fit into your page. Preview the doc, navigate through it if you need to, open it in a PDF viewer if you need to, and if everything is looking good, check that off as reviewed, right? So really straightforward, basic process for reviewing, but let's go a little deeper into potential things that you would need to do and shortcuts for them, etc. So that was previewing the doc directly here on the screen. In some cases, you may want to review that doc in the context of the entire transaction, right? So in that case, you would click the doc name, excuse me, the transaction name here to open that transaction and view it in the context of everything else, including the other docs, right? And then if all was looking good, you can go ahead, if that was a doc, and check that off there and then close that. And when you do, since that opened in a separate window, your original list of unreviewed docs here remains intact behind it, right? With just the doc that you were just on checked off if you needed to. Okay, so that's looking at it directly on the transaction. Now, when you do open that separate window, one thing that we recommend is resizing it, right? So you can resize this and the system will remember that size if you leave it open. So again, I'm going to hop back to my original list of documents here, unreviewed docs. And if I were going to resize that second window, it's helpful to actually resize this one also, and then I can look at them side by side. So maybe I've got this one on that side, and then I go ahead and reposition this so that it's side by side. And then that way, as I'm going through these docs and reviewing them, I can, on the left, have my list, and on the right, have the transaction that it refers to. So for example, if I need to now open Beale Street, I'll click Beale Street, and I can see that on the right, okay? And then the doc I'm looking for is the agreement, obviously, because it's the only one. I check that off, and I can see that it gets checked over here, okay? So that's super helpful. What's even more helpful is if you've got two monitors, right? So in that case, I can actually just drag this whole window all the way over to my, excuse me, this window all the way over to my separate monitor, okay? And have those both open. So this is full screen on one monitor and this is full screen on the other monitor. Super easy. So it helps save time because it's more efficient, but just also visually it helps you process exactly what's going on a lot easier when you've got those separate windows or separate monitors. Okay, so let me go ahead and open this back up. So that was one helpful tip. Also, from the reviewer's perspective, when they come to this page, obviously they need to manage which docs they need to look at. They could certainly just naturally go down the list, especially if there are just a few. But in a lot of cases, they may be looking for a particular doc. So they can use the tools up here as well as a couple of other tips to do that. Let's first start with searching. So let's say I wanted to find all of the pre-qual letters. So I'll just type in, right, QUAL, and easily be able to find exactly what I'm looking for by doc name. Okay, so that's the quick search. I can also filter. Let's say I wanted to really just find those docs that are about to close, that are from transactions that are about to close. I can search by close date, and then I can even further sort by that close date. Maybe I'm looking for, I'm going to click it again to sort it in the reverse order. So I can see those that are about to close soonest, right, and tackle those first. I can sort by status, maybe actually I can sort by location. Maybe I'm looking for all the docs within a particular location. I can sort by status. We'll see some offices actually specify a status for the broker. So a transaction can be in awaiting broker review status or something like that. And then that way the broker can come and look for everything. Oh, there we go. Ready for final review. Ready for final review. Which I probably have none since I've got this in there. Let me clear that out. Right? So that, and I still have none. Anyway, I can filter and find only those that are ready for review, and I'm so efficient, I don't have any. Another thing that we see often and recommend is for the admin beforehand to use the doc labels to indicate which docs need review. So here you see this one's got a needs review doc label. An admin can easily apply that a doc needs review, and they can call it, you guys can call it whatever you want. It could be for broker review, it could be broker review needed, you know, whatever you need to want to specify as that particular doc label. And then the reviewer can come here and filter and say, only show me those that need review, right? And so then I'm dealing with a much more finite list of those docs that need review. And notice that whenever I've done any searching or sorting or filtering, I've got a very custom URL or web address that appears up here. So once I've filtered these to only show needs review, I could actually bookmark this. So if I drag this down here to my bookmarks section, which is not currently open, but if I drag it to my bookmarks, then I can save that as a bookmark. That way, whenever I need to access it later, it's just a matter of clicking that bookmark instead of the Unreviewed tab, and I'll only see those documents that still need review. Okay? All right, so that is how they can filter to only see those docs that they need. All right? And then the last thing that I wanted to mention was the ability to easily navigate, and this is whether you're on a transaction or on this unreviewed page, but to easily navigate among these docs that are in the list here. So let's say I'm on form 8.1AA and I want to go down to the next one. I can use my keyboard shortcuts to instantly open that next preview. And the keyboard shortcut to go up or down is to hold down your shift key and either type the up arrow or the down arrow. So if I hold down shift and type up, it's going to expand to the conditional loan approval. And if I type up again, it's going to expand and preview the mold disclosure, etc. So I can go up and down just by using my keyboard if I need to. So just a quick little shortcut there, right? And I'll mention, just because we're talking about shortcuts of navigating, if I've got a long one here, how you can also use your keyboard to navigate within the doc. So I can use my arrows, obviously, but I can also use the arrows on my keyboard to go back and forth. And then I can also type a number. So if I wanted to jump to page 7, I just type the 7 and it'll jump to page 7. if I've got a 30-page doc, I can type 2-3, and it'll jump to page 23. And that works both for when I'm viewing the doc in this form, or even if I've popped it out into a separate window here using that arrow, this little arrow to go in or out there. So I can shift arrow up or shift down to go to the consecutive documents there. Okay. And that's it for today's topic.